The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This experience that you're about to have this evening is going to be a little bit different than the usual webinars you're used to receiving from me. This webinar is all about what's coming in 2020. And so, yes, I'm going to be turning on my gift as a future-oriented psychic channel. My guides are here with me. They will be coming through during this entire session to give us some insight as to what is coming as we move into our new year, into 2020. We'll be beginning a new decade. We're ending an old decade. This is huge. This is particularly important to me because many of you don't know, but my birthday is the 20th. It's the 20th of June. So 2020 has particular significance to me personally, which is one reason why I'm so thrilled to be here this evening with you, talking about what's coming up for all of us as we move into this new year, 2020, and into a brand new decade. Because as we move into 2020, even though 2 plus 2 is 4, 2020 is a 4-year. If you take out those zeros, it's also a 22 year. It can be read either way. 22 is the higher octave of the number 4. The number 4 is about setting foundations. So in the year 2020, my friends, all of us, each and every one of us, individually, as well as our cultures, as well as our nations, as well as our religions, we're also all going to be setting new foundations for the coming, not just year, but the next decade of our lives. This is huge. As we move into the next decade, I keep using that word, a decade is a period of 10 years. Numerologically, that begins with a 1. The number 1 is always about new beginnings. It's about new beginnings having to do with the self, having to do with the group as a unity. Well, since 2020 is a 4 derived from 2 2s, we can either look at 2020 as a year where we're going to be working hard to get along with other people, working hard to bridge gaps in our understanding of other people, other communities, other individuals, other religions, other races, other nations, other people next door to us, other people in our family. We can look at that 2020 as a way of bridging the gaps with others so that we can all, as a unity, have a better year where we thrive, and also as individuals, where we can accomplish and thrive and reach for new heights that we've never been able to reach for before. The beauty of the 22 that's hidden within the 2020, and I'll get to the zeros in a moment, the beauty of that 22 is that the number 22 talks about building, and it talks about the heights that can be achieved when everyone works together selflessly towards a common goal. So in so many places in the world right now, we are seeing divisiveness. We're seeing conflict. We're seeing people who are seeing one another as opposition instead of the support team. And my first prediction that I'm going to be making about 2020 is that this year, 2020, this year to come, is going to make a difference. It's going to start people working together in community. We're going to be seeing people saying, okay, so your ideology may be somewhat different than mine, your religion different than mine, your way of handling or doing something different than mine, but we have a common goal. We have a common thing that we wish to accomplish that's going to benefit both of us individually and all of us as a whole. So let's find common ground to stand on, and let's move forward with that common ground. Folks, this is what the year 2020 is going to be about, beginning our next decade. And the 2 zeros here are equally important. Numerologically, when I teach numerology, I teach that the 0, I do this when I teach tarot too, the 0 is a circle. It's all encompassing. It creates the unity. It creates an aura of protection around everything it touches. So here we are coming into the year 2020, where each one of these 2s has a protective circle adjacent to it. A spiritual circle that says, as above, so below. The spiritual circle that says, how it begins is how it ends. This is our opportunity, all of us, each and every one of us individually, and in all of the groups that we individually belong to establish a new life pattern and consciously move forward as builders of a new world, not the conflict mongers of an old world whose time has come and it's ready to be put away. So that's another part of what we're talking about, just in general. In your own personal lives, what is it time to put away? What is it time for you to let go of? What values is it time for you to say, you don't work for me anymore? What old ways of thinking have been in the way of your personal growth, have been holding you back? So 2020, individually and as a group and in couples, because the number 2 always talks about me and you, couples, do we get along? Do we not get along? Do we arbitrate? Do we care enough about one another to find ways to connect that work for us? This is a very, very important year. And I'm so grateful to be meeting with all of you this evening on this webinar and get to share the insights that my guides are bringing through for you and for me as we move on. Tonight I'm going to be talking about an overview of what's going on in the world using the astrological chart that begins at, it's a solar chart, when the sun comes up on January 1st, 2020. I'm going to also be looking at the United States chart because most of my clientele and followers are from the United States, and also because the United States affects so many other parts of the world. And I'm going to be giving an overview of what these transits for 2020 mean astrologically for the United States. And then I'm going to be looking at each individual sign. That's right, from Aries all the way through Pisces. And I'm going to be talking about the highlights of what each one of the sun signs, that's each one of you here on the call with me this evening, what each one of you have to bring to the table in 2020. What are you going to need to clean out? What are you going to be working on? What's going to be your primary spiritual focus throughout 2020? We're also going to talk about something called Saros cycles, because once again, this year in 2020, we are ending 2019 with an eclipse, a solar eclipse in Capricorn, and we are beginning 2020 also with an eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Cancer. And those 2 eclipses, bridging those 2 years, are equally important to events and circumstances that are going to lead us forward over the year. As a lot of you know, my guides are astrologers, which is why I work with astrology. They use astrology as a jump-off point. So don't expect to get an astrology lesson. What you're going to be getting is future-oriented information that my guides are going to be bringing through to you using astrology as the focus point, the jump-off point, to give you that information. Now, I will give you a chance to ask questions at the end of this webinar, so please bear with me. Along the way, if something occurs to you that you are in desperate need of having answered, please write it into the question area. And when we get to the end of the period when my guides are going to be giving information, I'm going to ask my assistant, Lisa, who's in the chat room with you, to read those questions off. So you're going to be able to get those questions answered before we leave tonight. I promise you. Okay? So let's get on with what's coming in 2020. I'm excited about this year, folks. Very excited. Here's the astrology chart. Now, this is not any country or any individual's chart. This is what we call a horary chart. It is a chart that is cast for the moment in time and space when the planet, or the sun actually, first moved into Capricorn, which officially begins the new year in the Gregorian calendar. Okay? So understanding that that's our definitive, that gives my guides the ability to use this chart as a focus to see what's coming in the coming year. This is our overview of 2020. Now, the first thing that I want to show you, and this is big, we know that certainly over the last few years, government, not just in the United States, but all over the world, has been undergoing some major shifts, major changes, and even people who are not political, government in every nation of the world has managed to push itself under people's noses and say, be aware of me. You will be delighted to know, those of you who are apolitical, that government is ruled by the sign Capricorn. And here we have Mercury and Jupiter and the South Node and the Sun and Saturn and Pluto all in Capricorn. So, of course, over the last few years, and I have to unfortunately say, yes, next year in 2020, politics of all kinds, politics relative to nations, politics relative to your job, politics relative to your family experiences, politics in your relationship, are all going to continue to need your attention. Now, I believe, let's look a little deeper at this, I believe that one of the reasons that politics have become important is because it's important at this time in mankind's development, getting this information directly from my guides, folks. It's important at this time in mankind's development that each and every one of us become a conscious, responsible part of the whole. Now, does that mean we're all going to always get our own way? No. Does it mean we have to get out there, roll up our shirt sleeves and carry pickets in front of the White House or whatever our Capitol building is? No, it doesn't mean that. But it does mean that each one of us is being called upon to really understand what our knowledge and our internal belief system is. We're not necessarily being asked to take sides, although it actually does appear that way sometimes when you listen to the news and the media. We're being asked to look at, I like the way Abraham Hicks puts this in. My guides are giving this as an example. Abraham Hicks, channeled by Esther Hicks, talks about your choices in life as this buffet of all kinds of things you want and things you don't want. And that you, unfortunately, are going to try some of the ones that taste really bad along the way to getting the ones that taste good. And that's part of the life experience. It's part of how we have to live in order to define what we want. Because what we want is what we are going to create. And that leads me into the next part of what is really crucial about tonight's webinar. A lot of you have never heard of the rays. There astrologically is something called rays of creation that actually permeate the entire universe and help it to evolve energetically. Well, the first ray of creation, which incidentally has one of its rulers is Capricorn, and one of the planets associated with it is Pluto, is coming into creation right now. And that first ray of creation is the ray that allows us to become manifestors, real manifestors. Now, those of you who follow New Age thought are really already aware that what we think We create, that's 10 years ago, that was a new idea. Now it's becoming old hat. You see how familiar with that you are? What we think and what we feel strongly we're going to create in our lives. Folks, that's a first ray proposition. That's what the first ray does. And as we evolve, each and every one of us is becoming more and more of a first rate person. Each one of us is getting better and better and better at manifesting our reality, whether it's a good reality or a bad reality. We're getting better at manifesting it. Some of us are manifesting the things on our buffet we don't want. Some of us are manifesting the things we do want. Most of us are getting a combination of both because we're learning. We're learning this new energy we're working with. We're learning how to focus as we move into the future on manifesting the things that we want and not putting our energy attention into the things we don't want. Meanwhile, we are babies right now. We're just taking our first steps. We're at the point where we're looking at that buffet and we're still testing out all the stuff on it that doesn't taste so good, and then figuring out, once we tasted the bad stuff, how to get it off that buffet table so we don't keep eating it by accident. Okay? That's where most of mankind is at right now. Now let me take this back to all these planets in Capricorn. Now you're beginning to understand why we need to, all of us, become more involved in our outer world. We do need to become more political. We need to be aware of what's going on in our work environment. Whether we choose to involve ourselves or not isn't the question. Okay? You may look at that buffet going on at your work and say, oh, that's not for me. I'm staying out of that. I'm not eating off that table. You made a choice. You took responsibility. You made a decision of where to put your energy. Going forward, you wouldn't be involved with those politics. You see how that works? But we need to become citizens of our own world. And that's where the real politics of this situation is coming in. We need to be aware of what's going on in the United States and what's going on in Germany and what's going on in Japan and what's going on in Russia and what's going on in India and what's going on in Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and England. You get my point? So what I do, what Sandy does, is what my guides are actually telling me is, I turn the news on just for a short period each night, or I read it on my computer just long enough that I can find out what's going on. I need to be aware of that political climate. I need to be aware not just of the politics that are going on in the world, but the politics that are going on in my neighborhood, the politics that are going on in my family, the politics that are going on in my church, if I belong to one. You get the point. I need to come out of my shell. That's what this stellium, this grouping of planets in Capricorn, is all about. We all need to come out of our little turtle shell, poke our heads up, and become aware of the buffet of options on the table in every aspect of this world that we are living in. We need to become aware of the options on that buffet table. And when we withdraw our attention from a certain thing that's on that buffet table, we remove the energy from it and it cannot come into being. And when we pay attention to other things that are on that buffet table, we energize them, and there will suddenly be more of them on the table, and they'll taste better. Are you getting me? Okay? That's what all of these planets in Capricorn are. They're not so that we should feel sorry for ourselves or take sides. They're so that we should be able to see everything that's out there and give recognition to the good things, the ones that resonate with us in here, in ourselves, in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls, and withdraw our energy from the things that we inherently know aren't for us or our families or the people that we love. Okay? So this is an interesting way my guides are sharing with you of being involved. It's a being involved through your attention, by where you put your energy. That's what this is truly all about. Folks, all of us living on the planet right now, under this pattern of astrological placements, all of us are world changers. all of us are leading the world into a new age, and it's coming fast. What do you want on your buffet? Pay attention, be aware, be conscious, make your choices, because you're going to be living with them for a long time. That's what the numerological value of 2020 is all about. You're choosing your path forward right now. This is a fabulous chart for next year. We have, I'm going to skip out of the Capricorn and move down and look at Pisces here. I don't know how many of you on this call are Pisces. Pisces often get trampled over. They are often a sign that we can associate with complainers. But all of us know that Pisces are servers, and Pisces want to help. And look at this, Neptune rules Pisces. Here it is in Pisces, next to the moon, emotion in Pisces. It's going to be a very emotional, intuitive year, folks. And it's in the house of communication. We are going to, when I say we here, the ubiquitous we, meaning everyone on the planet, we're going to be making ourselves known. And whether we do it through social media, communication, whether we do it by contacting newscasters, communication, whether we do it from the pulpit or from teaching, or whether we do it by conversing with our neighbor or just talking to our friends at work, we are taking our belief system, which we are creating and becoming more and more aware of, and we are talking about it. And more and more, we're becoming emotional, and we're wanting to serve, and we're wanting to see the people who don't have. We're wanting to share, all of us, the things that we have in great quantities with other people who have less. We're wanting to share our belief systems. We're wanting to share and to communicate and to make a change in things like the oceans, the environment, the air. Neptune's all about toxins, folks. In this next year, there's going to be a whole lot of interest in straightening out the environment. And of course, you folks don't know this, but this is one of Sandy's pets, because I spent many years as a safety engineer, and industrial hygiene was one of the things that I specialized in. And I can tell you that back in the 1970s, yes, that long ago, they already had the means to completely purify water back to a pure state, no matter what nasty chemicals were in it. So why isn't it being done now? You see, it's amazing what we can do when we work together as a community with unity and set our goals. Things can be moved forward in a way that helps all of humanity and helps all of the denizens of this planet. Yes, this is one of Sandy's hot buttons for sure. The thing is that this won't happen until we are shifting the me, mine for the group us, we, the group I. And that doesn't mean giving yourself blindly over to a leader who's bullying you into submission. That's not what my guides are saying. What my guides are saying is looking at this cornucopia of opportunity and making your choices and choosing what you want to have on your table, choosing your groups, choosing where you want to put your energy, and then adding your voice to that whole. So this is big, what's going to be happening. Will we have people who go into hibernation and withdraw? We always do, yes. But even those people who withdraw, if they poke their head up and see what's going on, merely by making the decision, what do I believe in? What do I care about? Where am I putting my energy? How do I want to educate my children and my grandchildren? What kind of world do I want to have for them? Merely by thinking about these things, we are already shifting the energy to create them in the new world. I hope you're getting the depth of what I'm talking about. These planets in Capricorn make the difference because Capricorn is a big part of the first ray. Now, Uranus, having moved into Taurus, is very important too. Taurus is the planet or the sign we associate with earth and fixity and structure and eternity and never changing. Well, Uranus is the planet of revolution and change. And here it is moved into the sign Taurus. And it's going to start knocking some heads around. And here's the interesting thing. We have got a nice trine, smooth flow of energy between all these planets in Capricorn. Capricorn is also Earth Mother energy, trining into Uranus. The Earth herself is going to be forcing us to awareness during 2020. Uranus and Mars is at 28 Scorpio, and Uranus is at 2 Taurus, so they are not in a direct opposition. Okay, there's 26 degrees behind them. But by sign, they oppose each other. So there's friction, not intense, not tremendous tension, but friction. Mars, within the first 2 months of the year, will move forward into the next sign, which is Sagittarius, where it will move into a hard aspect with these two planets over here in Pisces. And as it begins to move into that hard aspect, things that happen early in the year that I think are going to have to do with weather cycles and some major earth changes, earth issues, are going to be forcing communication and forcing the benevolence and reaching out of one nation helping another nation, neighbors helping neighbors. So there are big sweeping changes that are going on in the world right now. And those changes are going to give opportunities for help to be coming that was not available before. A lot of you are also concerned about finances, and you should be, because here we have the sign of finance, which is Scorpio, other people's money, and it's in the Aquarius house. World issues. Look at this from a world point of view, look at money and finance from the point of view of the World Bank, etc., etc. What this chart says is things are changing dramatically. Within the next year, or 2 years on the outside, but I think it's the next year, we are going to be seeing new systems, new ways of money coming out. I don't know whether it's going to be the Bitcoin, whether it's going to be the gold standard, but I have no idea what it's going to be. I'm not going to sit here and give you, oh, well, this is where you're supposed to put your money. What I am going to tell you is be ready for shifts and changes, because the people, the power behind the scenes of who is controlling the money is what's changing. And once that changes, it's going to be a free-for-all for a time before it settles out. And my prediction is that we will end up with multiple forms of currency, not just one, because I think, like I said, it's going to be kind of a vying for the power and the control, and I don't think any one person is going to get it, or any one agency is going to get it. I think there's going to be a shift that's going to have different forms of financial currency that are going to be used in different conditions and different situations. It's going to be a very interesting world that we move into. So write down any questions that have come up as I've gone through this portion, because I'm going to be only referring back to this chart, not coming back to it. Okay? I can tell you that with the North Node in the house of relationship, the house of one-on-one deals, the house of cooperation, and it's in the sign Cancer, and the United States, folks, is a Cancer country. Its sun sign is Cancer. We, in the United States, is in the middle of making all these deals worldwide. But individually in your own lives, in your own families, there will be arbitration. There will be people who you thought would never talk to again talking to each other. There are going to be changes and shifts within the family structure and family experience where the power, every family has its own power center. The power in the family itself is going to shift to someone new. This is a universal thing. We are having shifts of power all over the place in 2020, which is going to allow for more communication, more understanding, more agreement, more arbitration, more working towards the whole as opposed to the individual wow, that's what I want, give me. Okay? So we're seeing more of let's work together as a whole, whether that whole is a government, a religion, a family. Let's see what's best for all of us. And then I can take away after that what's best for me. Okay? So now I'm not saying that you should give everything away and no longer be self-concerned. That's not what I'm saying at all. My guides are saying, remind them, Sandy. In the past, one of the reasons why so many of us have ended up in the situations we are is that we stuck our head in the sand, we turned our power over to someone else in our life, and we just did whatever they said. And when we ended up in the soup, we said, oh, now what do I do now? I'm stuck. And if that other person just took off and left us because they really weren't who we thought they were, well, we're really stuck. So many of us have gotten into difficult situations because we turned our power over to another person that did not deserve that. So I'm not saying put your head in the sand and turn your power over to, Big Daddy who's going to take care of things, because we know that doesn't work. What my guides are saying is put your head out of the sand, see what's going on in every respect of your life, decide what's important to you. What do you want in your life? Where do you want to be going forward? And then get on the team and be an active part, whether you do it physically or whether you do it with your mind, whether you do it with your emotional partnering. Get on the team that's moving in the direction that you want to go. And guess what? Multiple teams is okay. And when there's a major dilemma or problem in life, all those multiple teams can each bring to the table what they are best at. So your best friend doesn't have to be on the same team that you're on. Are you getting this? I hope you are. It's not about who's on what team. It's about you knowing what's going on, knowing what you want, being in charge yourself of your own life, moving in the direction with people of like mind that you have arbitrated with and feel good about and have partnered with, and then bringing in other people, maybe from different walks of life, different belief systems, to work towards common goals. And again, more arbitration, more getting along together, more recognizing that it's okay for people to be different. And you can be as different as you can possibly imagine, and you can still find a common denominator in getting along and working with one another. Folks, this is what 2020 is all about. This is what all these planets in Capricorn have been trying to get us to understand and develop within ourselves for at least the last 10 years. We've been under this energy. And we are at that point where it must shift into that next cycle. It's coming. Okay, let's take a quick look here at an overview of the United States chart. Now, these aren't the transits. This is the United States natal chart. But I want to tell you, just those of you who are astrologers on here, this isn't a chart set with a time. This is a chart that just puts the sun on the ascendant. So I'm looking at this as what we call a solar chart. Why I did this is because there is conflict as to what the United States birth time is. We all agree it's July 4th, 1776. But there are different people who have different ideas of what time the Declaration of Independence was actually signed. So rather than get into trouble, I just am using a solar chart here, which will be accurate for what I'm doing. Okay? Now, look at these planets: Mercury, Sun, Jupiter, Venus. This is what was in Cancer at the time the Declaration of Independence was signed. Early in the year, we're going to have an eclipse in Cancer, and it's going to aspect these planets. It's going to really magnify the United States' place in the world, and the United States, I think, in terms of what Cancer is supposed to be all about. The United States as nurturer. The United States as being responsible not just to its own citizens, but to various nations and other countries around the world. And that eclipse coming is very, very important. On December 26th, we also have an eclipse. Now, this is still in 2019, but we have an eclipse that is in early Capricorn. It's at 20 degrees of Capricorn, very close to this Pluto. So what's going on in the Congress right now with the United States is very important, and the world is watching. And all I can tell you, I'm not going to get into detail about this because I truly don't want to be political, even though I know politics are important, so I'm bringing them in. I can tell you that whatever it appears that's going to be happening is not what's going to be happening. Okay? When an eclipse falls on Pluto within these degrees and the opposition to Mercury, we're only hearing half the story, and things are going to start to come out that totally spin things around in an opposite direction. So I don't know what that direction is. I only know that, please don't go jumping to conclusions and taking sides, because it's pretty clear that whatever you're hearing right now is not what things really are. Okay? So hopefully that's going to remove a little bit of pressure and not add to the angst. Okay? Meanwhile, those eclipses, look at this, they're happening in the first house, seventh house. They are forcing this whole concept of work together, arbitrate, in this case, bring two parties together. And it's also going to bring other governments together. This is going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of uncovering, but at the same time there's uncovering, there's going to be a coming together and a working together to actually find truth here and come out the other end with a working government, okay, whatever that's going to be. Meanwhile, back to all these planets in Capricorn that were in this chart back here, all these planets, well, these are transits activating the United States chart. And they all fall right here in the house of working together and the house of just plain work. Get it done. Health, heal, take care of business. Get off your high horse. Stop making it all about you. Isn't it? You're getting the point here. So things are coming to a point where a balance is going to be established. And I think it's going to be established worldwide because of the world chart. And by the way, this is the same chart I use to make my astrological predictions for the signs all year long. I will be working with this chart all year and all the transits all year long to it. So this is a chart you folks are going to find familiar. And this chart is the United States chart, which is really being pushed at this time, pushed into agreement, working together, getting rid of that bipartisanship, and taking I want to get this straight so I can say it right, the image they're giving me. When you find yourself in a position of leadership and the world is looking at you, one of the best ways of leading the world is through setting a good example. And so it's extremely important what's happening in the United States, what's happening in Britain right now. It's very, very important what's happening in Canada, what's happening in Australia, because through setting the example with your own government, with your own people, with your own religion, whatever it may be, you are sending out waves. You're talking about pure energy again. You're sending out waves that will cause people to react, respond, understand, fall behind you, fall into step with you, increase that energy. This, folks, is what changes the world. What changes the world isn't shooting people. It's not dropping bombs. Frankly, it's not even throwing stones or calling names. What changes the world is the energy of belief. That's what changes the world. And that's what all these planets in Capricorn are doing. And the United States is going to play its part. So is every other nation. We're not alone in this. So here's where we are here this evening. What does this mean for you? All of you who are here on this call are not just here on this call because you wanted to hear about all the things I was just discussing. They may be interesting to you, but what's really interesting to you, because you're human, is what does this mean for you and what does this mean for your family? Well, here's back to that astrology chart for the 2020 year, and we're going to talk about the individual signs, okay? So bear with me. I'm going to jump around a little bit. But let's start with Aries. I don't know how many of you on this call tonight are in Aries, but it's very important to note that Aries is being visited by the planet Chiron. And a lot of people don't know what Chiron is. Chiron is a planetoid, and it has been assigned healing, qualities. So we look in astrology at Chiron as being the astrological healer. So Chiron is going to be in Aries for quite a few years, and Aries is going to be bringing healing to your life situation. Now, every Aries who's here has gone through a 7, almost 8-year period of dealing with the energy of the planet Uranus, which created tremendous upheaval and discord and craziness in your life. And, you've kind of gotten used to that. So you're used to nothing really seeming to last, nothing really seeming to have that long-term wow that you feel like you can commit to it. Well, Aries, that's all changing. The planet Uranus has left your sign. It's moved into Taurus. It's going to bother them next. But what's come into your sign is Chiron. It's going to heal. So Uranus ripped you open, exposed everything that you are. It showed you what you can achieve. It showed you who you are deep down inside. It showed you what you want. It showed you what you don't want. It put the fear of God into some of you. It changed your life dramatically into something which will never be what it was before. But from here forward, life is going to be more consistent. And from here forward, there will be less craziness. There'll be less interruptions. There'll be less emergencies. There'll be less crazy people in your life. And life is going to become as stable as you want and need it to be. Notice how I put that. Now, I also want to point out that during 2020, Aries is part, I'm drawing it with my cursor, of a Grand Cross in the cardinal signs. That does mean that, things might actually feel a little dull for you for a while, Aries. It's that Grand Cross is going to cap your energy a little bit. It's going to say it's time to build. It's time to be in touch with what you want. It's time to disconnect from those energies around you which have produced all that discord. So for you, 2020 is going to be recreating connections with family, with partners who have a family and an emotional connection. And it's going to be disconnecting from people who, invite you out and then leave you hanging out on a limb. So there's a disconnection from that part of your life where you felt like you were constantly in a mode of emergency or taking chances. It's going to be interesting for you, Aries, because this is an enormous shift of energy that's happening. It's going from crazy unpredictability to settled, responsible, take care of business. And it may take you a little while to catch up with yourself. I think that you're going to be bringing tremendous experience from the last 7 and 8 years to everything that you touch from 2020 going forward. Okay? It's a very important time. Incidentally, 2020, let's look over here, 2020, remember I went over that at the beginning? Well, the next time we see those letters is going to be 2022. Okay? That's going to be a little over 2 years from now. And there'll be 3 2s there. 2022. You see that? What that tells me is there are going to be a whole lot of things that are initiated this year that will be completed in 2 years. So we're really seeing a slide that's going to take everything that we're doing is going to take a 2-year period for its completion. Okay? Now let's take a look at Taurus. I gave a hint. Taurus, you're getting visited by this wonderful planet Uranus. It has moved into your sun sign during the last year, and it's doing I don't know if I want to use the word admirable, but that's what comes to mind from my guides, an admirable job of ripping apart your foundation. Okay? So for every Taurus, all Tauruses are individual, just like all the rest of us are. Obviously I'm not a Taurus. But so many of us have this, especially Taurus, have this feeling that whatever we've created is going to be here, more like the pyramids, 4,000 years from now. Everything we have is stable. It never changes. Uranus is going to change everything. So Taurus, it would be a good idea for you right at the outside of things to recognize that the changes that you're seeing on the horizon will very shortly be right in your backyard. Okay? So you may be having new people move in with you. You might be selling a house or moving to a new locality. You might be doing a whole lot of traveling. You might have a new job that moves you to someplace else. The thing is, everything that's important to you, your family, your work, your finances, it's all going to shift. Now, that said, I'm going to give you the advice that a very good friend of mine gave me a long time ago. Because you tend to be an all or nothing sign, when change hits you, it's very common for you to throw the baby out with the bathwater, i.e., just change everything all at the same time. Taurus, you're not cut out for that. That would not be psychologically healthy for you. So what my friend told me a long time ago, I'm going to pass this advice on to you. Change one thing at a time. Even if you know you have to change your relationship and your home and your job and your money, do them one at a time. Take 4 months to do them. Do one a month or do one a year. That's even better. But don't do it all at the same time. So I'm passing that bit of advice on to you. And I don't know if you're going to take it or not because the impacts that are going on around you are going to, you're going to reach for the carrot. That's how this works. You're going to reach for the Uranus carrot. Uranus brings opportunities. And because you're reaching for what you want, you're not going to see all those things beneath your feet that are slipping away. And before long, reaching for what you want puts you on slippery sand. And that's when everything in your world begins to change all at once. So what I'm asking you to do is, in reaching for the carrot, recognize that it's not the only carrot. There are many, many carrots. Explore the carrots that look like they might be worthwhile, but don't give 100% to any of them until you've tested out the solidity of the ground beneath your feet, i.e., the solidity of the opportunity that's being presented. Okay, that's great advice. If you take it, 5 or 6 years from now, Taurus, you're going to be thanking Sandy. Okay, if you don't, you're going to be climbing out of the pit you dug for yourself. Okay, so the following sign, and by the way, I want to leave you with something positive. The opportunities that are coming your way are absolutely marvelous. Just make sure you jump for the right hoop. Okay, now we move on and look at Gemini, and Gemini in this chart almost doesn't appear. Look at that, no planets in Gemini. I'm so grateful because I'm a Gemini. Okay, but don't kid yourself. Gemini definitely is here, and what the chart says is that Gemini's focus throughout this coming year is going to be on daily life activities. It's going to be on health and healing issues, and that could be for yourself or for your loved ones. It's going to be a little bit difficult. You're going to sometimes feel like you need to clone yourself. You're going to be spreading yourself too thin. There's a caution there to kind of rein in the things that you're committing yourself to. The ruling planet, I want to show you where I'm getting this, of Gemini is over here. It's Capricorn in the 12th house, right next to Jupiter. Mercury's the ruler here. And what that tells me is that Gemini, if you're going to do well this year, you are going to need to have your own space. You might need to do a little bit of traveling alone. You certainly are going to need to have your own little meditation area, a space that you can withdraw from the world to. If you're somebody who likes to communicate, you may find yourself either writing a book or developing a podcast or doing some radio or teaching, because communication is really going to be super powerful for Gemini as we move through 2020. Okay? You also are going to find yourself being torn. So be aware, that whole politically correct thing, that you're going to continue to be put in groups that want to know what you believe in. They want to know whose side you are on and want you to be on theirs. Okay? So you're going to continually have this, and you're going to say, why am I having this stuff in my life? I just want to have this nice, peaceful life with some nice friends to hang out with. And the reason this is in your life is because it's helping you to define what you want yourself. Okay, that's one of the issues for Gemini. Gemini must walk in the other person's shoes in order to be able to appreciate the other person's situation. And so as we move through 2020, Gemini, you're going to continually be thrown into those other person's shoes, figuratively speaking, so that you're opening and broadening your mind. Okay? So it's going to be really an interesting experience for you. And during that time, you might find yourself either traveling for work or moving your residence because of your career or a career opportunity. Moving on and looking at Cancer. Okay? Cancer, you have tremendous opportunity this year. The North Node is moving through Cancer. The eclipse that starts the year out is in Cancer. There are things moving around you that if you can develop the courage to step out and follow your dreams and follow your goals and say, okay, this is my year. I'm really going to do this. It's like that protection is going with you. The emotional support from your guides is going with you. So you have tremendous opportunity this year to succeed in all the areas that you want to succeed in. What will hold you back will be your fear of moving forward because you don't know the outcome before you take the first step. Now, Cancer, you're very intuitive and you're used to not moving forward unless you already are guaranteed that security. In 2020, you have tremendous opportunity. A lot of that opportunity is going to come through another person, perhaps your spouse or a best friend, but you're not going to be guaranteed its success. And that's the thing that could block you. So there's a really powerful need for you to get in touch with your own intuition so that your intuition can at least tell you, yes, take this step, or no, that fear is justifiable. Okay? There's a lot of fear around you this year. That fear could sometimes stop you from making a misstep, but it can also stop you from being successful. Looking at Leo, okay? Love Leos. Leo, you're going to need to step out of what you thought you wanted in order to get what you want. Don't you love it? Okay? It's really interesting. As a Leo, your values are shifting and changing in 2020. You are having right at your fingertips the opportunity to have everything that you've wanted. You may have just gained it. You may have it in front of you now. And now you're stepping back and saying, but why does not this feel fulfilling the way I expected it to? You see, Leo, it's not so much your values, that's the wrong term, but the all-encompassing, this is what I want to achieve, who I want to be in life, is what's shifting. And as this who I am changes, the what I want, the who I want to be with, the what I want to be doing with my life for a living, the where I want my income to be coming from, all of these things are different than they were even a month ago because they're in a process of change. Remember, you're getting that square aspect from Uranus that's coming out of Taurus. So you're looking at things now from the point of view of, I don't know if I want that, if it's going to hold me back. I don't know if I want that, if it's not moving in the direction that I see myself needing to go. I want to be able to be creative. I want to be able to explode my creativity out into the universe. That's what I was put here for, to find out what I'm really capable of when I allow that creative self to expand and explode. So guess what, Leo? You're going to be changing and shifting, and the people who are around you are going to kind of have their hands full because the Leo they have in their life right now is a very different Leo than the Leo that they had in their life just 6 months ago. And that shifting is going to continue. My best advice to you, Leo, is stay true to yourself. That's extremely important for you. It's not about what other people think or want. It's not about gaining other people's love. It's about self-love and being true to yourself. And this year, you really have the opportunity to get on track, not with other people's goals, but with your own goals, your own ideas, your own ability to shoot yourself into the future that you want for yourself. This is a year to just really get on track with you, okay? Virgo, I would expect Virgo is going to be moving. Now, I don't know if this is a change of residence I'm talking about, or if it's just constant motion from job to job to job, or from home to home, or family to family, but there's so much motion around Virgo. I almost feel, Virgo, like you're going to go where you need to be because you love to be needed. You're going to go where you are needed. That's the feeling here. And when I actually look at all the planets that come together in this chart, it's almost like you're on a seesaw, because part of you wants to get out there and follow your intuition and be the helper and be the person who's the Johnny on the spot, taking care of all the things that you see that need to be done. And the other part of you wants to escape into your own special place and do your own thing and glide forward into, the sunset, into whatever it is you want to do for yourself. And this whole year it's going to be that kind of seesawing for you. It's going to be coming back to give that helping hand, to give that advice, nurturance, support, a lot of coaching, a lot of teaching, a lot of sharing with people, and then you're going to be off doing your own thing again. And I almost feel like it's an escapism. So, we might hear from you for a time and, wow, look at all you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're gone. Okay? And I think that has to do with you constantly needing to rebalance yourself. So just, one of the things you might do for yourself is to set some boundaries, because when you are giving and sharing and doing that nurturing, teaching, coaching, and you're in that super productive time that you're getting, are you giving too much of yourself? And that may be why you go into escape mode, that you kind of have to withdraw to rebuild your energy. At any rate, I see that flip-flop going on all year long, and I think you can mitigate that by setting some boundaries around yourself when you're in the giving and serving mode. A lot of creativity around you, possibly writing, teaching, sharing yourself in many, many different ways. Be wary, Virgo, of either your mate or a woman that you're close to, who, remember, there's a lot of healing going on for you, but that person could be taking the energy away. As you're gaining the healing, they may be siphoning it off. So just kind of keep your eyes open for that little bit of vampirism to be going on in your life. Hopefully it won't, but the possibility is there. Okay? Libra, you are in a great position this year to move forward with career. And, there's an interesting combination going on. You have a balance of energies that are drawing people to you in a way that can promote what you're doing, both career-wise and with your desires and your goals for who you want to be in the world. But at the same time, you have something else going on which is undermining. And I don't know whether that's coming from yourself, from within, or whether that's coming from people around you. You would do well to step back and take a look at that and ask yourself, where is that undermining energy coming from? Because if you can understand what that is that's coming into your life that's undermining, isolate it and set it aside, you're going to clear the way for your own success in just about every area. You're going to find yourself healthier. You're going to find yourself having better relationships with your family as well as your family with choice. You're going to be finding your career delivering to you, finances improving, and everything has this healing effect for you. But you've got to find that undermining thing and seal it out of your life first, because you've got that going on at the same time. I'm not going to use the term vampirism. It's not. This isn't a vampire thing. This could be something coming from within you. It could be a person outside of you. It could be a circumstance that's holding you down that you need to just walk away from. Really, in your own life, step back and take a look. What is it? There's something here that you are going to benefit greatly by getting rid of. Okay? And it's not going to be easy. Folks, those things we get emotionally attached to are always very difficult to let go of. but now's the time if you want to be able to take advantage of all the good things that could be coming to you. Scorpio, this whole year is going to be filled with action. We start the year with Mars in Scorpio. So for Scorpios, this is feeling a lot like you're being launched out of a cannon. And remember, your opposing sign has the planet of change and revolution in it. So be aware, if you can, that it's important to slow yourself down enough as you jump into that next thing to at least recognize the repercussions, okay? Because for many of you Scorpios, you're going to be doing the uncharacteristic leaping first and then looking. And if you do that, you're going to be spending the entire year cleaning up problems that you created by acting without forethought, okay? Scorpio, be aware that your finances and the foundation of your finances are going to be shifting this year. That's important. Please be aware. Don't just let it happen. Be conscious of it. Look at it, see it. You also have this tremendous ability right now. I see through friends, but also through a woman in particular around you. You have the ability to change the focus of your business, the focus of your finances, and you also have a tremendous ability to really work one-on-one with other people and help them to develop their skills and their abilities and to move forward, okay? So I'm seeing you putting a lot of effort into that. Now, will you put that effort into it through your job, through your family, through social media, through writing a book? That I can't tell. But I can tell that as you get yourself on track, you're also going to be drawing other people along with you to be on track in the same way. Sagittarius, this is going to be a year of, it's almost sad to say this, but of retreating into yourself and saying, where do I want to go from here? What do I really want? What I used to think I wanted, I don't want anymore. So what's my new plan here? Okay? A lot of time spent on your own this year, which isn't something you're really used to doing, but it's going to benefit you enormously. Very likely, Sag, during the coming year, you're going to have the opportunity to start your own business or work for somebody else in a small business. And in that work situation, whatever it is, you're going to have the opportunity to be of service, to communicate and help other people in ways that you don't even imagine right now. The thing is, right now, I'm seeing you not sure what it is you're going to do. I see you with so many opportunities around you, and the insecurity about stepping forward into any one of them. The feeling that you have to finish where you're at right now, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, that you can't move forward in your life until all these responsibilities are taken care of. You know, Sag, you've experienced a Pluto transit, and then right after that, a Saturn transit that turned you from that fun-loving, open-hearted being you were many years ago into somebody who's maybe sometimes over-responsible, okay? It's time maybe not to go back to the irresponsible self, but certainly to take steps back into being the one who can look at life from a lighter point of view. So am I saying lighten up, Sag? Yes. Am I saying you can afford to let some of those responsibilities go and think about yourself and your own wants and desires? Absolutely. The problem is that if you wait for all of those T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted before you move on with what your own joy is going to be, you'll never get there. There's always going to be someone else to take care of. There's always going to be something else lining itself up in front of you that prevents you from achieving whatever it is that you want to be. Okay, so hopefully that's going to help give you some direction with a few things as you move through this year. Capricorn, you are the sign that's getting the biggest bunch of transits of any sign that's present this evening. You're going to be communicating your needs, you're going to be teaching, you're going to be traveling, whether that travel is physical or internal. You are going to be moving back into an old walk of life or an old family or relationship you're taking a step back to regroup and get in touch with what you want going forward. The key is that you've got to go back and make the necessary changes. And those changes aren't external alone, they're also internal. You've got to make those necessary changes before you move forward, or you will keep repeating the past. I hope you're hearing me. In order to change those things that have been dragging with you for many, many years, you need to step back into that old you. You need to change down to the core who that old you was. And you need to put on that new suit of clothes that is the new you and step forward into the new life you want to create for yourself. But that process is going to require a step backwards before the forward momentum can come, because what needs to be shifted and reorganized can't be done in the future. It's got to be done in the old you. Let me give you an example. For example, if you are the person who, and this is a simple example, but if you're the person who all of your life has not eaten peas, and whenever there are peas on your plate, you can't even eat the other food. You just don't eat those peas, okay? Well, as long as you're fixated on the peas, you're going to keep getting peas on your plate, and you're never going to have the food and the plate of food that you want to eat. And so you keep repeating this pattern of getting the peas that you don't want. The only way to change the pattern is to grab the plate which has all the peas, and either you eat the peas and you say, well, they weren't so bad, or you slide them off into the trash and you eat all the other food and you say, now I have what I want. But you've got to go back to address the thing that your psyche was stuck on and change it before you can move forward and create a new path and a new pattern. Otherwise, you're going to keep bringing that same thing that your psyche has been stuck on into the future. Aquarius, this year, guess what? If you play your cards right, see, I've got my cards in my hand as I'm talking here. If you play your cards right, you can have what you want. You can be financially secure, you can have the relationship you want, but you've got to play those cards right. You've got to move slowly. You've got to be willing to make change. You've got to be willing to let go of what didn't work. Big. You've got to be willing to listen, not just speak. I also see, Aquarius, that this year you are going to get what you want financially. You just, here we go again, have to make up your mind what you want. The biggest thing in your way is that you keep thinking that to have what you want, you've got to do it the way that, mom, dad, sister, brother, your best friend, you've been letting the world dictate the terms for you, that this is what you require in order to be successful. But I don't think that's necessarily what you want. Aquarius, get in touch with what you want, because this year you can make it happen. But if what you make happen is what somebody else wants for you, it will not make you happy, because it wasn't your want to begin with. So make sure that what you're working on isn't what you were told to want, but what you really want. And Pisces, this next year, 2020, has tremendous opportunity for you. It's going to be a very emotional year. It's also a year of healing for you and for some of the people who are close to you. It could be a year for you to become a healer. You are needing to develop a thick skin. I'm telling you that right off, because in your world over this next year, things are going to be exposed that are really going to let you down. And you're going to be saying, gee, Sandy told me this was going to be a good year. What's going on with all these things that are attacking my values and telling me that people I used to think that I could believe in, I really can't believe in, and the list goes on. The thing is that Pisces, when you accept people as they are, and you don't have expectations of them that they cannot deliver, that's when you stop getting hurt. And that's when you start being able to move through life unhindered and without fear. That's the opportunity that's being presented to you this year in 2020. It's a year of having the people around you exposed for who and what they are, and you're having the opportunity to get in touch with that universal love aspect of self, which really can accept those people as they are. And of course, some of them you're going to say, okay, you can still stay in my life. Others you're going to say, that doesn't work for me. You're gone. And so this is going to be a year of changing and shifting close friends and values concerning close friends. But when you're all done, your intuition will be very finely honed. You're going to learn self-trust and self-love, and you will have experienced enormous healing. So, folks, that's kind of a quick overview of the year for you folks. I want to let you know that as we go into January, I will be having my YAG, Year at a Glance readings available. They're only available through February. After that, they're no longer really applicable. But I take each sign, I would take your birth chart, your actual chart, and go through the entire year and tell you month by month what your focus should be, what your pitfalls will be. And I also have my 3-month overview available where we can go into the next 3 months psychically and with the cards and look at the specifics, the details of what's going to be coming your way in the next 3 months. So those of you who are really wanting more about what's coming to you in the future in 2020, I have those things available to you, and you can look on my website for them. Okay, that's www.sandyanastasi.com. Now, moving forward, I wanted to just touch briefly upon Saros cycles. These have to do with the eclipses, folks. And every 18 years, there is another eclipse at the same degree. Okay, so the eclipse that happened on December 26th, which I'm actually pushing into next year because it's so close to the end of the year, that eclipse is number 46 out of 71 eclipses. It's a Saros cycle of 132. And the important thing about that Saros cycle, and that has really colored what I've been talking to you about this whole time, that Saros cycle, the original eclipse at that degree, happened the same year that St. Francis, who incidentally is one of my guides, came to his understanding of what he was supposed to do with his life. That's when he received, I guess you would call it a vocation. And a lot of you don't know, even though St. Francis was sainted and is one of the top saints in the Catholic Church, he was never even ordained as a priest. He preached and he did his work, and his work of healing and generosity of spirit. We know him as the guy who loved the animals and healed. Okay, the thing is, he did all those things because it was his vocation. It was his belief system. And he got recognition for it after he was dead. Okay, he got sainted. The thing is that it's important to recognize that the original eclipse that happened, that we are initiating this year, happened under that kind of energy, which was benevolent and sharing and caring, and really didn't care about a college degree or recognition from a parent, or whether or not something was approved by the FDA. The original energy here said, this is something which needs to be done. Here is a place that I can contribute. Here is a place that I am uniquely capable of giving and sharing with the world. All I have to do is recognize that within myself and then reach out to contribute. That's what St. Francis gave to us way back then. And that's the energy that we're starting this year with. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea why the slant for this entire webinar is the way it is. It's because of where the Saros cycles of this particular eclipse began. And the lunar eclipse that happens in early January is part of that same Saros cycle. So this is the eclipse pattern we're working with. And I think we are right at the time when we're going to stop and see who has some questions for me. And Lisa, are there any questions in the chat room or the question area? People who have thought of things they want to know as I was communicating all that information?
There are a couple, which you may have already answered, but I'll go ahead and read them anyway. The first one says, houses 5, 6, 8, and 9 are not populated by any astrological bodies in this horary bucket chart, does that mean that certain things related to these houses are just not that important for 2020?
Oh, absolutely not. That's not the case at all. Um, and I'm sorry, as an astrologer, and my guys being astrologers, we kind of gloss over things like that. But understand that, for example, just because this house is apparently empty, the sixth house here, doesn't mean it's empty at all, because all the planets that are in the 12th house opposite it are feeding into it. And through the dynamics of aspects, it has a trine aspect from the part of fortune. It has a semi-square from Uranus. It has a 90-degree square from Moon and Neptune. It has a sesquiquadrate from all the planets in Capricorn. And I know I'm using astrological terms here, a trine to Venus. So as I was going through and giving information, my guides are very unique. They use the chart as a jump off point, and they are processing all that information I just gave you with the sesquiquadrates and the squares and trines. They process that at such a very quick rate. I couldn't possibly do that myself, and they come up with their own information. But the point is that you and I see an empty house here, and energetically, that house is full. It's not empty. Okay, so that was a good question. I'm sure other people had that, and now you understand there's no such thing as an empty house in an astrology chart. Okay, the energy permeates the whole chart, just through different aspects. And Lisa, what's the next question?
It is, do the dates 02/02/2020 and 02/20/2020 mean anything special? Those numbers are unique and will never happen again.
Yeah, they are. I love them. And I think I kind of went over that in the very beginning when I was talking about it. We already went through 02/02. We did that in the beginning. And I didn't go back and look at what was going on that year. Okay, but it might be a good thing to go back and look at, second month, February of 2020, what was going on. That may give us some insight into what's going to be going on, because those numbers repeat. And I didn't check that, so I don't want to say anything about it, but that would be a good thing for you, since you raised the question, to check into. 2020, I think I talked about, and 2022, I certainly talked about, and I saw the correlation between them. And yes, those numbers will never come again. And they are very, very important. Number 22 is a master number. And even when you get zeros between it, you're still, when you take the zeros out, you're still dealing with 22. And we still have the 2022 to come, and that'll be 3 twos. And then somewhere in the distant future, we've got 4 twos. And I don't know that any of us are going to be around to see that. We may have to come back and reincarnate to be part of that one. But the number 2 is always about arbitration. It's about working together with the other person. It's about creating a whole that's greater because of the people working together within it. It's about sharing. It's about both marriage and divorce. It's about total acceptance of the uniqueness of every individual. And I think when you go back and re-listen to the webinar, you're going to hear a lot more that I said about it at the beginning of the webinar as well. And what's the next question, Lisa?
Well, this sounds like a Lisa question, but it's really not me asking. She said, you said that you were going to talk about aliens. Is there any information on that?
Okay, and I'm glad you brought that up. I have never got any idea what my guides are going to talk about, but I've got to tell you, when they come through, that they just take it and they run with it. But if we go back to the astrology chart, okay, and these are our transits for the year. Here's Uranus, and I would put anything which is not of this earth into the sign of Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. I do believe Well, now you're going to get Sandy's beliefs and my guide's beliefs here. I don't know if all this is going to happen in 2020, but I certainly think the beginning will be in 2020. We are setting up the potential, when I talk about the Space Force, to reactivate the space program in a way it hasn't been or activated before. As we do that, we're going to come in contact with things out there in space that we haven't before. Now, that's one aspect. The other aspect of what's going on is that mankind's vibration is getting more refined. Literally, we're becoming lighter. Part of this Uranus and Taurus is that our physical plane is, Uranus is energy. Our physical plane is being energized, and as it gets energized, it's being lightened into something that has a different form, different aspect. It's been my belief for many, many years that the reason that most people have not seen aliens is because most people are not vibrating at the same level that that alien that could be standing next to them, just like a dead person could be standing next to you, is vibrating. I think it's all matters of vibration. And I think that between the Space Force that's being raised, that's going to get us out there, and our own vibration shifting, we are moving into a time when we will start to see people who are from other planets, or I don't even want to say people, entities, energies. People are going to start seeing a whole lot of things they never saw before. And I know from all the clients that I work with, it's already happening. Okay? There are a lot of people hearing things, seeing things, feeling things that they're afraid to tell people about because they're so radically different from what our society accepts, and they don't want to be said, oh, that person is crazy. The thing is that Uranus, here's the planet that's doing it. Uranus is about our energy shifting. Taurus is the physical plane. Uranus is shifting the physical plane. It's got 7 years to complete that mission. And while it's doing it, it's making a trine to good old Pluto over in Capricorn with Saturn. These planets rule government. And so the governments, I'm saying plural, all around the world are going to be making connections. Whether or not they're going to open the doors to us, I can't say. But I think there's a very good possibility that this is going to be so widespread that they can't not open the doors to us. So, in answer to your question, I don't know if it's going to be in 2020. My guides think it is, that there's going to be a definite yes, there's an alien race out there, we've made contact. My guides think it's going to be. Let's see. They think it's going to be 2020. I'm not sure. It could be anywhere over the next 7 years. So me and my guides are not quite in tune on this one, but they're right more often than I am. Okay? And what's the next question, Lisa?
That's all the questions in the chat room.
Oh, how nice is that? Folks, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you this evening. I hope you've enjoyed this. My gift, I tell this to people, and since I was a little girl, my gift has been foreknowledge. I'm a future-oriented psychic. I think that if you hang on, you're all going to get a copy of this. I'm also going to be repeating this webinar in January. So if you have friends that you think might benefit from it, you can send them to the webinar in January. But if you take keep a copy of this on your, or at least the link on your computer, and you replay it at various times throughout the year, I think you're going to find a whole lot of things in here that my guide slipped in along the way, either pertinent to your sign or pertinent to what's going on in the world, that, oh wow, yeah, Sandy said that. Because that's the way it works. Half the time I have no idea what's coming out or what came out until it has manifested. So let's see. Let's kind of keep track and see what manifests, what happens. And I will look forward to hearing from you about that. Okay? Thank you all very, very much for being here this evening. I want to wish you a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.